Well, that, like you, I'm trying to figure out the right scenario, the right package.
Yeah.
And when we're done here, I'll fill you in on the rest of the stuff that I'm doing. There's a bunch of things that are happening in the next 2 weeks.
Cool.
But until then, I'm still I'm busy and doing research through Collab Talk.
Okay, hold right there because we are about to go live, so I don't want anything spilling over
right,
that.
Exactly. I'll tell you when we're off.
Yeah. How's this looking? Setting up your webinar for YouTube Live. We've got a live thingo done, redirecting to YouTube, and
is there a link that I share with people?
Yeah, it looks like and I know that there's a, let me try and do that.
I'm in the chat as well.
There you go. It literally did capture that first bit. Let me also flick on my studio audio video thingo. You can't start your video because the host has stopped it. Oh, wow. Okay, guys, this is Christian Buckley and Daryl Webster, or Daryl is a service, and we're having a lot of fun with yet another video streaming technology. So thank you for your patience.
Doesn't yet have a UX, completed UX. So for the UI, it's
that's it. That's it. I'm purely Daryl shell, command only. So yeah, did you? Okay, I'll just flick over that link to the stream. Feel free to push that out there. We do have a few viewers too, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you even for joining us. We're going through my new weekly regime, you might say, of trying to keep myself accountable by looking at the Message Center regularly. And I know that the Message Center's been there for a few years, really, with Office 365. It's been in various forms, and it has been improved greatly. So what we have done over the weeks, if you haven't joined me before, is I stepped through some of the announcements and various different categories to see what's in the Message Center and keeping myself up to date. So we've got a Christian Buckley here too, who's helping me out. We're testing out this streaming software called Zoom. He and I have been looking at various different options for how to go live and what's going to be easy to bring people in as panelists, and it's got to be simple.
It's easy.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I get for asking a question just innocently. Hey, Daryl, have you experienced with this? Come join me on this live stream. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's how I roll, man. I'm like, someone says, have you got a minute to chat? And I'm like, let's jump on a call. Yeah. It's usually actually been my approach in the tech community as well, that, if someone has a question, sometimes I don't have the answer, but I know someone who does. Let's jump on a meeting. Oh, by the way, I do live ones now. So if you don't want to, I understand. Yeah, so we've got the Message Center. I still haven't figured out how to turn my video on, so I might do that at some point when Christian gets on a roll for talking. But I'll just go ahead and share my screen, and that's how often do you hear that in a meeting? I just got to say, this is maybe one of my pet peeves, that when we go into a meeting and everyone's doing the greeting, and I'll just share my screen. Come on, guys, have it ready. Have it just ready to just flick over and do that. So you should be sharing my screen. That's the other line that follows. Yep. We didn't have that problem also at the beginning of the meeting of, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Yeah, you could hear me, I could hear you. So that's good.
Good.
All right, so Message Center. Now, Christian, first question. You've probably got a tenant of your own, and you may also at some level, go in and do various things for yourself or for others. How often do you check the Message Center?
Probably 2-3 times a month. And usually it's not because I'm looking at what's happening with like my tenant. I'm just trying to understand, like constantly playing catch up with what's been released, what's actually out there, what changes have happened. And so it's usually in relation to an article or something that kind of drives me towards that. I should get it now that I've got multiple people on this tenant. I need to be a bit more proactive about watching this.
Yeah, look, the other thing that I found useful, and I do this throughout the week, is use the Admin Center app, and that has a section for the messages as well. So I have found some weeks to be busier than others, and it's not necessarily around announcements, but you will see, and like I'll just go through as an overview for those who don't do this often, but there are different categories for announcements, and you can see plan for change. So these ones are quite key. They're telling you that something's going to be coming up, and you really need to put something in place, advise your user base, or make some changes. Stay informed seems to be the ones that are around, hey, here's a new feature, here's something that's updated, and there are other various categories as well. So yeah, I think it's a good thing to jump in and check this occasionally. And this is, like I said, it's my accountability session. Here I am on my Saturday going, what did I see this week?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a good thing to get into, Christian. I encourage it. Now, like I said, the Message Center has improved a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it follows that regular pattern of what is it, when was it, when does it expire, and a brief description of what it is, how does it affect me. So you should center in on that whenever you're taking a look, and then what do I do to prepare for that and additional information. So here's one announcement. Do you know much about this, Christian? Have you used Flow at all?
Not just playing around with it, so I'm not in there actively using it yet.
Yeah, so just for those who haven't really kept up with that, or just glanced over this word called Flow, it's Microsoft's answer to IFTTT, or what is it, Zapier's another one. Yep. Very much about giving power to the power user, or the average office worker to push their data together from different sources and do various things via actions.
Right.
Would that be your understanding? Do you use any of those other ones, Christian?
So I do use Zapier. So I mean, again, I think you have a good description there. This is a non-developer way of going and kind of filling in the gaps really between products and features, being able to go and create some simple workflow or automations between various tools. So for example, so I'm on the marketing side of things, and so with the marketing automation tools, and sometimes you go in and hey, we're going to go and use this new service or this capability, and there's not a direct integration. There's the companies have not kind of come together and built their APIs in a way that talk to each other. However, we can go through and use like Zapier or Flow to go and automate some of those activities. To, for example, somebody fills out a form on your site, and that it automatically share that form, that new entry, with your CRM platform. I mean, that's like a type of integration that you can go and build into that. But of course, Flow allows you to go and build those things across the Office 365 landscape with a lot of these services as well.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the concept of recipes. So there are people that have put things together, or examples that you can just go and use to start yourself off, or you can build things up anew. Right. And look, there's one that I've recently been using, because I like to keep in touch with the tech community. At the moment, there's still development around how to keep yourself up to date with things. We were kind of spoiled a bit with the Yammer app when it was based on Yammer, and we could just get push messages. So there's some work going on there. But I have noticed that there is a lot of blogging going on with the different product groups in the tech community. And this is a good example of where I would use something like Flow, because you don't get that push message to say, here's a blog post. But what you can do is go in and follow the blog itself. Sure, you'll get an email, but I'm never going to see it in email. I grab the RSS feed and I use something like Flow and give myself a push message. And in this case, I push it to Twitter and get a DM. So that's hey, there's a new post to read. Mark said something, or someone else has said something on the SharePoint team.
Right. Review that.
Now that's not what
an alert that it's like mentions you. You could be very refined on if you find that you're getting spammed from these flows that you're creating. Again, you can tune that, make it very specific.
Yeah, so it's your own fault if you're sending yourself a bunch of messages using that method. There's definitely other ways.
Right.
But that's not what this announcement is around, is it? Like, so as we look a little closer, Flow has been around for a little while. There was some connection to SharePoint being announced, and we were looking at what's going to happen in the workflow space for SharePoint. Now, this announcement is saying that Flow is now available to work with SharePoint Online lists and libraries. So what's been used in the past, Christian? What have you seen there?
Well, I mean, I think what you're seeing here is a lot of the new features and capabilities within Office 365 that they're going to be more deeply integrated into each of the different options. So instead of having to go and go to a separate URL to a product page to go and create that flow and then move that over, you're going to be able to, just from the toolbar, go and create that and connect it to content right there at the source. So in in your OneDrive for Business, within your SharePoint document library, wherever that is. And so I think that's just what we're going to see going forward as new features are coming out. More deeply integrated.
Right. So it's not necessarily a replacement for workflow, but it just happens to be called Flow, and you're able to trigger off things like we see in Chris McNulty's example from the blog post.
And he's one of the three people using Wunderlist, right? Yeah. I actually use it. I don't know if you do, but
yeah, I do. I've got a list for what I do for BitTight, and I've got a list from myself, and there's pro features, of course, if you want to get using it as a team, but it seems to work well.
I'm a list guy, so I've been using it for years, and so when they acquired that, and I'd like to see some other features and things in it, but anyway, sorry, went sideways.
Yeah, no. Well, that sideways talk is relevant, Christian. We've seen, certain things or platforms and products that have been acquired by Microsoft that everyone goes, oh, right, now we're going to see various integrations happening. And look, to be honest and real, people, it does take a while to look at the plumbing in the background and get that right. So I know things are happening with Wunderlist. They've been part of Microsoft for a little while now. But do look to things like Yammer and also LinkedIn and just be patient. Plumbing is sometimes more complex than you realize. So yeah, this flow feature is going to be quite useful. It's putting power back into the hands of the end user who, as we said, doesn't do any coding, but just wants to grab stuff from here and put it here, or mash these together, make a list. Alert myself when something happens. So yeah, that's pretty.
I like the example that they have right below that about, hey, you've uploaded the content, but you need people to go in on actions and add metadata, which is like, hey, that's an ongoing battle with content managers, content owners, right? Is getting the right metadata around that, and so you can actually create a flow to automate any new content goes in, that there's a review process that you ask people to go and apply the metadata. And that's actually a smart thing to do after, because if you restrict the upload of content, make it required that they must upload metadata, people just go plug in, whatever. If you don't ask them to do metadata, they won't, because people are like water running downhill. They'll go the easiest path, forward. They'll just flow down that hill if there's no requirements. So this is something that's kind of in between there, where they've uploaded content, and then you can automate that ask to go in and add the metadata or other tasks around that, review that content.
Yeah, it's always been about trying to capture that information as easily as possible. I think about some of the work I used to do back early in my IT career around point of sales, and the whole idea of that point of sale is make it simple to capture what you're selling and various information around that, but it's got to be quick because you got to get through that transaction.
Right.
And that's where entering metadata has got to be made simple. So this is good to see. It could enhance that. All right, where are we? We'll go back to our get out of the way Zoom bar.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so
move it over to the right side. Can you move that bar over? There's some platform.
Let me try that. Without killing the meeting.
Yeah.
Finding a space. Oh, there we go.
Did it do it?
Yes, I can. I don't know if you could see the
No,
bar,
I
but
can't see it, but that's great that you can do that.
thanks for reminding me about that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Right,
can
so
see it. I'm
we're back.
Sweet. Okay.
Cool.
Sorry. Go. Yep.
As we're working our way up, like I take this approach with my email as well. It's first responded to, so I like to work my way up the list. So as we go to that previous message, planning for change. Now this is one a feature or a subscription I've turned on my tenant around Intune. So it's just advising me that I'm going to be able to manage that Intune directly from the Azure admin experience. And there are more of those experiences being pulled into Azure as well. There was what was it, a couple of weeks back, the being able to manage group. No, what was it? It was a Azure group membership. That was managed directly from Azure, and it directly affected Office 365. It was I forget now. I could go back on my old messages if I, if I wanted to, but we won't make this a search exercise. Anyway, like bringing it back into Azure and giving you more control there. So I will have to have a look at that later. Have you had a bit of play with Intune at all? No,
Not at all.
I started to look at it when I was presenting on working from your mobile wherever you are, and I did something at Ignite, and I wanted to have a closer look at how can I make it easier for people to work from their mobiles but not have to go hunting for that app. Let me present an app store with a selection of apps that my company are going to use, and and then it took me into all those policies and things. So yeah, that subscription
that's smart. I mean, even if you and your organization don't think, hey, we're not really focused on the app experience. The reality is, I mean, I look at my phone now and I've got 5 or 6 different Microsoft SharePoint Office 365 related apps that are on there that I'm using on a regular basis. And as the rest of my team are using other apps there that I need to go back and look at this and get a bit more organized around it.
Yeah, look, for me, it was the thought that while there are far more advanced features for enterprise mobility and security, and they're all there, and this is I guess to go over to something that Anna Chu's been encouraging us to talk about, the path of the IT pros career. That it's really changing, in that where we thought that the cloud was going to do us out of a job, oh my goodness, we were so wrong. You have to specialize in something now because there's so much to know. And this is just another thing. Right.
Well, I mean, it's funny. I did a session on the future of the IT pro role at 2 years ago at Ignite in Chicago. Mm-hmm. A huge session on that, but and really that was the message. Whether it's the role is not going away. It's where the servers are housed is changing, but the roles are still necessary. So depending on what your role and your company has you doing, but they still need somebody that understands and owns the various services, and then everything on the back end and supporting those pieces. But if anything, our environments have gotten increasingly complex because of all of these services. And so you need people that understand, doesn't have to be an expert on what all of those services, those platforms and tools do, but how they come together. And from that enterprise aspect, how are they managed? How are they governed? What are we meeting our security compliance, standards with these various pieces in there. So that's very much still that IT pro role. It's not going away.
No, that's right. It has shifted, and as you've seen too with moving into the Azure space as well, that it's more about we just say administration by coding or infrastructure by code. So it's it's something that if we're flexible as IT pros, and so we should be, we're always looking for easier ways to do things. But I guess before I turn back to the announcements, I guess what I'd say is that as an IT pro, you've also got to realize that you can't know everything. You will never know everything, and you have to lean on a community. So that's why I'm often in the tech community looking for my answers there. Yeah, so that's Intune. It's an area that I've been beginning to look at as well. Oh my goodness, yes. So feature update. So you are going to see announcements like this in your Message Center telling you that there is a feature that has been turned on or is coming.
Yep.
Now this announcement was good to be aware and stay informed because of Microsoft Teams going globally available this week. Now you've been part of the talks there, Christian. What's been happening in your world around Teams?
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, it's, I've been using it on an almost daily basis since, January. And this is something that, not everybody still in, my organization uses it, but I think it's a big piece of the future of the user experience for Office 365. It's something that if you're not yet playing with it, looking at it, that you need to be informed about it and how it affects the other aspects of what you are using within the platform.
Exactly. Yeah. And when you are taking a look at it, grab some friends, grab some work colleagues, because you don't want to be in a tumbleweed team on your own. That's, it's not for personal productivity. It is about, high velocity communications and collaboration in real time. If we could just, briefly talk about our offerings now, we've had Yammer come to the party with connected groups a few weeks back, and we had, Angus Florence and Steve Nguyen tell us about that. And we've had Outlook groups. I'm calling them Outlook groups, Christian, instead of Office 365 groups.
Which is just confusing. Right.
Yeah,
I think I'll talk about that. I think it was a messaging mistake, and I think that they learned that. So yeah, Outlook groups is a lot less confusing to people.
Yeah, and like let me just see if I can do this with crazy pen. Good old Zoom it. Thank you, Mark Rosinovich. We have Outlook groups, and I can call them OG. We've got Yammer as well. And we've got Teams. If we reorganize those letters, we could call them toys.
Yeah,
toy. And then we've got now that's getting into, I'm sure there's a language that'll cover that word. And O365G. So underpinning it, and this is where the messaging went a little wrong. And because it came out as an Outlook experience to start with, it was associated with Outlook. So Office 365 groups now across the world of tech is mostly associated with Outlook. But what we're trying to encourage people to understand, it is the underpinning fabric of these other collaborative experiences.
And
Outlook being email.
That Microsoft does going forward, they'll either be features and capabilities into those workloads of Outlook, Yammer, Teams, or they will be available as an option as a sister product or capability to those. But it will all fit within that Office 365 groups framework.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So your framework is your people over here. If I can just draw the logo. Yeah. Whoa, look, I'm getting the group logo done by the mouse.
Nice.
All right. That's groups. Kindergarten style. Then you've got the communications layer. So that's how I see it. You've got your three different modes of communication. If you like email and processing things, in queues of time, in a sense, then that's Outlook. If you like your enterprise social and reaching out across the organization, and that's your Yammer. Teams is your high velocity. Let's get on with it.
I would say, Daryl,
communication. But like you said, everything else above that.
Yeah. I would just say that on that far left. So I actually I don't know if you saw it, I just did a blog post on that communication layer across that. And I think that's where we're going to see more information out of Microsoft here over the next prediction over the next year or so is cleaning up, continuing to evolve and innovate on that communication layer across that. I think that there's, in Microsoft terms, there's a lot of opportunity to go and clean that up across the entire those various workloads. But anyway, that may be a different discussion for another day.
Another cast, another stream. Well, I know the end goal is so that we don't even have to think about what we're using, but, I need to talk to the whole organization. I'm going to click something and it just so happens to be Yammer underneath, but it's doing its thing. Right. I'm going to email and it just so happens to be Outlook experience. So I know that's the end goal. But yeah, just to your point too about the other experiences. So this could be Planner, it could be, what else have we got? Power BI. We've got I think CRM even sort of connects into the Office 365 group thingo. So yeah, all these different experiences that are happening. We've got Flow that we can connect in. There's also connectors themselves. So it's all about what's going to suit your group from a communication perspective. Make your choice. It's not about Outlook versus. Just choose the appropriate method and take advantage of. Oh, look, I forgot SharePoint. Oh my goodness, sorry people. That should have been the first one there.
No, we're gonna start the rumors out there. It's like, he just threw it in at the end. Something's going on.
Yeah, something's going on. He threw it in. Well, that's because it's just everywhere, right? So I didn't even have to mention it. That's fun. Boy. So let me just take a screenshot of that. I think I'm pretty proud of that artwork. I'm going to hang it on my my fridge there. Snag it. Thank you very much.
I was thinking my niece just did this. It's kind of on par. So I mean, this is
oh wow.
It's like a 4-year-old. So hey, you're at least that level. So awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. That looks like what is it? The monster thing. The things.
I know. I loved it. That
rabbit.
It's fantastic. So yeah.
Yeah. Ha.
Yeah.
All right.
I've actually got the Japanese monster creatures dolls back behind me.
Oh wow. Huh. Go on. You've got lots of little props and toys.
No, I love this stuff. So I've got the.
Oh. Oh wow.
And then my favorite.
Very goofy.
Which is the yeah.
Oh nice. Very cool. Also good stress relief sometimes on bad days. All right, so on to our last announcement, or last message in the Message Center, auto creation of direct reports in Outlook. So look, I find that this is a continuing challenge within mid to large organizations of, I need to talk to someone about such a thing. Who do I talk to? Where do they fit in the org? So any tool like this that helps us to create that structure and make that happen easier to use is definitely a good thing. Now, can you think of a couple of tools and things that help with that? I know that SharePoint's had skills search and org charts and various things in the past.
No, I was just, this is the first I saw this, but I mean that just makes sense. I mean, if you think of you want the tools to go and automatically do things which are intelligent or obvious like this, I would want to, based on the current org chart structure. Obviously, what it's not going to know is any dotted line folks that you might want to go and add into that group. But the more that the system can recognize, hey, here are the people that when you're sending out your weekly update, that they're always in these emails. Let me create a group for these. I mean, that would be the kind of intelligence that I want the system to go and do to make my job easier.
Right. So, just taking a closer look at this, it's creating an Office 365 group for you automatically auto creation of direct reports into a group. Right. So I know this for using layman's language, might get up the nose of some IT administrators. What? You're creating yet another group automatically for me? Give me control. How can I turn it off? Blah, 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 blah. All valid stuff though, right? Because you sometimes want to have that kind of control. So I can see the positive side to it, and then I can see that, okay, how do we have control of this?
Right.
So if it is going to be creating an Office 365 group, and you've gone to the extent of adding your naming policies and who can create groups and various things, it's going to adhere to all of that. Because it's a group, it's going to adhere to all your compliance that's built into the different workloads like SharePoint and Exchange. I bet because it's an Outlook experience, it's of course going to be creating a Office 365 group with the Outlook communications favoring. But let's see. So that begins on April 13th. So of course, I can't go in and demonstrate and have a look-see at that, but we should probably start a discussion around that on the tech community and get some feedback.
But honestly, I mean, besides the whole, I know there are people that are very concerned about the number of auto-generated and the number of groups, the proliferation that's out there. This is a fairly innocuous change. It makes sense to me. If I, again, that organizational structure, I'm going to want to have that done. That's kind of a no-brainer. I just need to be able to prompted on that as a manager. Like I mentioned, I might have other dotted line folks that I want to include on that, but otherwise, I don't see this as being out of the norm. We're going to go and do this anyway. Update, delete, or modify at any time. But I think by default, having that there where I can go and grab my direct reports, that just makes sense.
Yeah. I think you're right. This is something that we don't have to get all antsy and worried about that, oh, look, it's another group. What do we do with that? It's appearing in our global address list in our Active Directory. That it's making it easier for that manager to do what they want to do and can collaborate with the people that they work with underneath. You might have a group that's set up for that purpose already. So yeah.
So you delete.
I know.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the announcements for this week, and we have done about half an hour. I like to try and keep it short-ish. So this is my usual, regime is what I do here, Christian, as I go through and tick them all because I've seen them now. I've read them. I don't need to work with them. Dismiss them. So that's the week that was there. Of course, they're available there for dismissed and archived messages. If you need to check them out later, you can filter down to that. But that was the week that was. And thanks for joining me, Christian. It was really good to get your side comments, your insights, see your toys, draw a few little childish pictures with you, look. The only thing that you're missing out on here, since I couldn't turn on my video, was my lovely Irish green polo shirt.
Or that.
And wishing you all a happy Bad Irish Accents Day.
This is the only thing I have green that's in my office right here, so I'll just hold this up for.
Okay. Yeah, well, thanks everyone. We'll end the stream there. We'll catch you again next week as we take another look through the Office 365 Message Center that was, and look at some of the goodies there. The final message I'd say to Christian and anyone watching is stay informed. Do check this out and get the app. Keep yourself up to date with all those changes because change it does. Thanks everyone. Bye for now. And I'll catch you on another call there, Christian, afterwards.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Cool. Where is the stop button?